I am at the scene of exactly where it happened.
On June 29th, 2024, on a residential street in Edmonton's Fraser neighborhood.
Mathios Arkangelo.
At about 9:22, Arkangelo, who police were looking for because he was driving a car that rolled over on a nearby freeway.
He just seemed confused.
Drinking liquor outside the vehicle.
She really said, "Hey, Mom, I love you." And then he just like, "Oh, I gotta go." That's what he said to her.
Police officer arrives from this other side.
About 20 meters away from Arkangelo, he reached into his right pants pocket and pulled out a black pocket knife. The officer immediately unholstered his gun.
55 seconds after the encounter, Arkangelo, again with his hands in the air, you can see the police shoot him. Witnesses say they heard 4 shots. What could possibly justify this shooting?
The way the police murder my son in front of kids while they are playing. Like my son was nothing.
We came to Canada in 2002. I came with Viola, my daughter, oldest one, and Dini, he was 11, and Matt was 6. 2003, we moved to Edmonton here. Matt was loving kids, love friends, family. Mom, he was so close to me because he was almost the youngest when we came to Canada. He was my youngest. We always together. It was hard for us to find his picture alone. He's always with the family. When there is a long weekend, we go out or we stay at home. This was in a buffet. We are together. This is him with his son here. When they start having kids, I say, hey, we have a medium family. We don't need to invite people. We can have it in the house or we can go to buffet. I miss that. All Christmas, New Year, anything coming like long weekend, I don't like it anymore. I just have to lock myself in the house. Passing of Matt affect me, the whole family. Sometimes your loved one pass away, you can cry like 1 month, and you try to accept that, you know. But for Matt, every day is a day of crying. Even my sister, they call me, we have to cry every day. These things are real to us. But like it's somewhere he's coming back.
Losing one person can make a big difference because you're just plucking up a piece out of a puzzle. So then now everybody has to come together and try to fulfill it. But I know we can never fulfill his role fully. It's pretty hard because my brother obviously left behind his son, right? 8-year-old, so we also have to think about him too, about his future.
So the first day it happened, we had no clue what was going on. So what I did, like I went to my mom's house. So I started Googling man shot by police. And then I saw the video on Instagram and I was like, hey, that's my brother, right? And then we sat at home, we were crying. We're like, well, we have no answers. So one of my cousins like, why don't we go to the scene? So then we decided to come. And the minute we pulled up here, there was a guy in a car. He came out. He's like, are you guys the victim's family? And he's like, your brother was murdered. I have the video. I can testify. And then somebody else from another house came. They all just started coming to us. And then for me, that was like a relief because coming here, I had all this. I didn't know the truth, right? I had all this stuff in my head based on what I read. And then the minute it says they told us that, I was like vindicated. I guess I'm like, okay, my brother was innocent.
My name is Tom Engel, and I'm a lawyer. In one of their affidavits, they attached a very lengthy report by the shooter that was made a long time after the shooting. So the family read the report, and they can tell from the videos that it's not true.
We have a 25-minute video I was put together. It's on YouTube, everybody can see it. And then we also have like maybe a total of 4 hours of footages from various neighbors just giving us their CCTV footages. We have like all the witnesses there that like saw it. Like, they were all there.
My son surrendered. His hand was up. And the police started shooting him, looking on his face and murdering him. Why?
Everything is based on a reasonable officer's perception. It's not based on what the video shows, because the video is going to look very differently to you and me when we're watching that at our desks than it looks to the officer who is facing someone who is larger than him, who is carrying a weapon and is walking towards him.
My name's Dan Jones. I spent about 28 years in the justice system, 3 years in corrections, and 25 years in policing, working in various areas from patrol to foot patrol to homicide section, internal affairs or professional standards branch. And then I eventually went back to school and got my master's degree in applied criminology from the University of Cambridge in England. And that led me to where I am now. I'm a criminologist and the chair of justice studies at Northwest College. When I was in PSB or professional standards branch, you'd look at a situation and you would determine, based on the officers, how they wrote, how they articulated what happened, if there is any video, all that kind of thing. And you look at all that and you determine, is it reasonable for this officer to believe that they were in a situation where they were at risk? Let's say it lasts for a minute or 30 seconds or 2 minutes. And we can watch it over and over again, and we can make judgments based on what we see over a period of time without being stressed, without having our nervous system jacked up or jangled up, if you will.
Specifically when it comes to edged weapons, they give you what's called the 21-foot rule. And if someone is within 21 feet of you and you have a firearm, that if they are advancing at you within that 21 feet, they are a lethal threat, and they can get to you if they're going fast enough before the firearm before you can disable that person with your firearm.
If you look at the 𝘠𝘢𝘪𝘓 team case out of Toronto, 𝘠𝘢𝘓 was an interesting case. It was another individual with an edged weapon who was on a bus, let everyone off the bus. The whole thing took about 30 seconds. He was on the bus and he had a knife, and the police officer was telling him to stop, and he kept advancing. He wasn't running, but he kept advancing. The police officer shot him, I think twice, and then waited 30 seconds, and the 𝘠𝘢𝘓 was already on the ground. And after that, the police officer then shot him 2 more times. In that case, they actually charged the police officer, but they convicted him of attempted murder. They said the first shooting was justified because of that training in the 21-foot rule, and the guy had an edged weapon. The second volley of shots, where the person was already stopped, didn't need to happen, but they couldn't prove which volley of rounds killed him. Was it the first one or the second one? So they charged him with attempted murder because they couldn't prove which ones. He ended up getting convicted and getting 8 years in custody for that.
When you're a police officer, what you're trained to do is shoot for the center mass, so the biggest part of the body, because when you're under stress, that your fine motor skills are gone. So you are able to pull that trigger, but you're focusing on the center of mass. And it's not shoot to kill. I hear that all the time. It's shoot to stop. And they teach, there is a thing called the failure to neutralize drill. And that is, if you shoot someone twice to the body and they keep advancing, your next shot goes up to the head. And that's to neutralize the threat. And that's how you're trained.
In my opinion, like, he had leverage, all the leverage there, right? So he had like the gun, he had the vehicle, he had maybe bulletproof vest, and also the distance, right? He was, when I measured it, at least 30 feet away.
I do not, by what happened by video, one person shoot, but the rest of people, and they did not give support to my son. Maybe my son could be alive today. Even if you don't start it in medical, you start even CPR, you will know that a human being shot with a multiple bullet and lying down almost half an hour. Who can be alive? All the blood was drained. And I believe myself, my son was dead in that spot. And they took him to hospital because the only person can pronounce the death, only the doctor. Even he was there for 2 days. Only the doctor. But my son was dead. He would do something different to punish my son. It could be better than take his life away from me and disrespect him. Even he's dead. The other police came and still arrest him. Who can get shot even 1-2 bullets and still strong fighting? Quit. We are human beings. We are not a metal or the rock.
Law enforcement, they came at 4 in the morning and just told her that her son passed away. They gave her like a piece of paper with that for victims of supporting trauma, and they left.
I asked twice, can you repeat that? Can you repeat that 3 times? They say, yeah, he's dead. What took them from that time, the day before 29, and came to me on the 30th of June to tell me about my son?
Because it was a long weekend, we were trying to get a hold of them, and they said they couldn't help us because it's a long weekend. We'd have to wait until Tuesday to get any answers.
They would have to go to St. Albert to victim services to get help, some assistance, right? And it's a long weekend and they were closed. Well, that's ridiculous. And pretty insensitive, to say the least. There are many cases where the way that the police deal with the victims of this sort of thing, the families, has been at times abysmal. And you know, including not contacting the family, leaving the family not knowing, well, where is my family member? I haven't heard from him. What's going on? And then a long time later, they find out that the family member is like in the hospital or has died. And That's just cruel to delay it that way.
Even the pants that he was wearing, his phone, they took all information and everything. Why can't they give me and let me hug it to feel that that was the last thing that my son was wearing? You know.
Anna Odo wants the police officer involved in the fatal shooting incident suspended. So do a few hundred others. Police say the officer involved in the shooting completed a reintegration program that's designed to deal with potential psychological injury for the officer involved in a traumatic event before they return to active duty.
It pretty much happened in broad daylight. There was we received so many footages from all the households there. There was witnesses and all that, but even with that, you'll still have like the chief of police acting like, the officer was just doing his job. And then we also had everything on video, and then the officer gets put back on duty. So we're just kind of confused. How does that work, right?
After hearing Chief McPhee speak on Edmonton AM last week, the Arkangelo family tells us they were not informed of the officer's return to duty. Mathios' brother Dini Arkangelo had this to say.
He stated that the video doesn't paint the whole story. He said that there might be some parts of the videos that aren't included, but then he ended the whole interview by saying he hasn't watched the video. How did you come to a conclusion to put the officer back on duty when you didn't see what actually took place? We are the ones that put out the video. We gave the video to our lawyer, and the lawyer gave it to 𝘚𝘢𝘧𝘦. And also, our lawyer spoke to 𝘚𝘢𝘧𝘦. They didn't express any concern of that video being out there. The initial narrative that was being put out on the media was he crashed his car, he was impaired, he was confrontational with the police officer. So we thought it was important to put it out there for the public so then they can form their own opinion on the matter. Because if you're watching the video, you see he didn't look drunk. He didn't look confrontational. He had his hands up.
People will feel safer in their communities if the police are seen as a legitimate power holder. And that legitimacy is oftentimes gotten and gained by the police being transparent in their actions. What I've seen over the years is what I almost seem like a move away from transparency, where police say, no, we can't say anything because it's an ongoing investigation. Well, sure, there's a 26-minute video out there that everyone is watching. I don't believe that that's an investigative integrity issue. I believe that when those things come out, it's incumbent upon the police to do a better job of communicating with the people out there, because when you reduce that legitimacy, the opposite happens. Crime goes up. Assaults on police officers goes up. Police have to use more force because people don't see the police as legitimate.
I don't feel safe, and I always worry about my kids. I always worry and thinking like, how is this life gonna go with us here in this city? Driving on the road, passing the police, I just feel like somebody was just sleeping like just like this all the time.
At first, you thought the law enforcement, they were all honest people, they did their job and everything, but then you realize that they're humans and they have like a group, like a boys club or whatever you want to call, and they'll cover for each other. Even if like the truth is out there, they're gonna do whatever it takes to protect themselves. For when they speak, it's almost like it's a us versus them kind of mentality, which is kind of scary.
In the Arkangelo case, myself and the family, they were served a publication ban. So Edmonton Police Service has been trying to hide the officer who killed Mathios' identity from the public. Again, it is important that this officer be held publicly accountable. These are public serving officials. You don't get to go kill someone and then go have Timmy's and be unknown. It's ridiculous. Even if you organize, they start tracking you, they start targeting you. Like, I'm trying to figure out right now how to pay a $10,000 legal bill so I can, again, respond to a court order that was placed on me.
In this application to keep all the names secret, the police filed affidavits for the parent purpose of trying to prove that there were credible death threats that were being made against the officer who shot Mathios. Their belief is that these officers will be in danger if their names are exposed. All of them. And only one is being sued for shooting and killing Mathios. The rest of them are being sued in their capacity of arriving later, and the allegation is they didn't render medical aid right away. It was delayed. They're saying that there's credible death threats against the shooter, but they're not alleging that there's any credible death threats against any of the other officers, but they're trying to keep all the names secret.
We thought it was going to be like a quicker thing because pretty much it's a done deal, right? But it's still 8 months later, and we haven't, I guess, ACERT still doing their investigation. And then within a week or so or two, they did the autopsy, but we're still yet to get the autopsy report. Yeah, I just don't know why. Super slow. Already tens and thousands of dollars, like in lawyer fee, yet we haven't even started yet. It almost seems like it's just rigged. Wait, you don't even know how we're going to pay for it, right? That's why we have to have all these fundraisers. If it wasn't for all the various communities and organizations coming together, like, I don't even know how we would even put up a fight, right?
Well, there's an ACERT investigation, Alberta Serious Incident Response Team, that was triggered by Section 46.1 of the Police Act.
Their job is to investigate whenever the police cause harm, serious harm or death to an individual. They also investigate other matters of public interest, including, for example, such as if there's an allegation of sexual assault against a police officer. And the idea is that they're an independent body who are separate from the police that investigate the police.
They had a bit of a rocky start, ACERT, when they were first born. You know, they were hiring as investigators police officers who had their own problems. But it's a very competent and objective unit now. And they do good investigation. The problem is that it takes so long. And the reason for that is simple. It's underfunded and understaffed. ACERT will then determine whether there are reasonable grounds to believe any criminal offenses occurred. And if they do form those grounds, then it will go to the Crown Prosecution Service to determine whether they will prosecute. If ACERT decides that there are no grounds to believe a criminal offense occurred, or if they do have those grounds and the Crown refuses to prosecute, then it will go back to, currently it'd be the Edmonton Police Service, to conduct a Police Act investigation, because the Arkangelo family has made a complaint under the Police Act. And then there's a civil lawsuit. So the Arkangelo family is suing the Edmonton Police Service, the chief, and a number of police officers in relation to the killing of Mathios.
Thing is, the Crown Prosecutor's Office has their own separate standard for determining whether or not charges should be laid, whereas the ACERT, they have to be convinced that there are reasonable grounds to believe an offense has been committed.
ACERT has an executive director who's a very experienced Crown prosecutor. So what happens is, the problem is when that Crown prosecutor, Michael Ewanson, the executive director, forms the belief that the officer committed a criminal offense, and then he then sends it on to the Crown Prosecution Service, which then decides often not to prosecute. And that is the problem. It's not how ACERT investigates. It's the Crown. The breakdown is at the level of the Crown. And many of the decisions made by the Crown in my opinion, are simply perverse. So probably the worst example of that is the case of 𝘬𝘠𝘠𝘬𝘠.
According to an ACERT report, officers responded to an incident at a home. There were reports one person had a knife. When police arrived, 𝘠𝘠𝘠𝘠, then 18, and his older brother Blair were ordered to come out of the home. 𝘠𝘠𝘠𝘠 and his brother were then lying on the ground. According to witness reports, an EPS police officer, Ben Todd, kicked 𝘠𝘠𝘠𝘠 in the face as if you're kicking a soccer ball. 𝘠𝘠𝘠𝘠 was left with life-altering injuries. ACERT says there were reasonable grounds to believe a crime was committed, but the Alberta Crown Prosecution Service declined to move forward, saying it felt there wasn't a reasonable chance of prosecution.
The family is simply seeking an explanation because their access to justice has been blocked again and again. They don't know why they were treated the way they were. They don't understand why the Crown is declining to give them any explanation. We believe that they're entitled to some form of explanation given the severity of harm caused to them.
It's cases like these that have now sparked a provincial review into how criminal charges are filed against police officers.
When you hide the name of the Crown Prosecutor and you hide from the public the explanations for their decisions, that just creates distrust in the system.
Heather Jenkins from the Justice Minister's office says the review will look at the Alberta Crown Prosecution Service and ACERT's current practices and compare to other provinces. In November, Alberta Justice retained Peter Martin, a retired justice of the Alberta Court of Appeal, to conduct the review.
I suppose there's always the possibility that, based on the review by Peter Martin, there might be a second look at those cases.
In an unusual move, the family is pursuing a private prosecution, with a court date slated for October 13th.
We get to present what evidence we have available to us to support the charge and let a judge decide if a charge will in fact be issued.
Pacey had 2 major surgeries and a portion of his skull had to be removed to relieve brain swelling. Blair couldn't cope with what happened to his brother, his mom said, and he eventually took his own life.
I think it's through collaborating with organizers and telling these stories to as many people as will listen is how we're going to make real meaningful change here.
From 2016 to August of last year, I was a member of Black Lives Matter YEG. And in the summer of 2020, which was the summer that George Floyd was murdered, we launched a huge mobilization effort to have a protest at the legislative grounds here in 𝘠𝘠𝘠𝘬𝘠𝘠𝘠. The gains in the level of conversation that were happening at that time, that continue to happen, are huge. The issues raised by the inception and subsequent propagation of Black Lives Matter movements all over the world were now dinner time conversation for the entire city. That level of discourse is, I think, part of the accountability process. It's raising these special interest issues up from the level of special interest to the level of a general public concern. That was a major win of that particular effort. That, I think, is the thing that I uphold most as the most effective result of that protest. We download our sense of responsibility for public safety onto the police. We do this every day. And it's not because we are willfully negligent, it's because most of the time, social infrastructurally, there is no other option for high crisis moments. We have to call the police. That's not a choice, that's coercion.
One of the fastest growing industries in North America is security. It's a little disturbing when you walk into Tim Hortons and they have a security officer down. Like, come on. Over policing marginalized communities. We've probably done that for a long time, but it's becoming more obvious now.
So historically, when I was a young person, there were physical limitations on who could become a police officer. For example, you had to be a particular height, and generally, even something as what appears to be innocuous excludes a large segment of the population. For example, if you say that you must be 5'8" tall, that probably excludes 90% of the female population. Probably tends to exclude a large portion of the Asian population because they tend not to be tall individuals. And I remember the uproar, it was probably in the 1980s when the RCMP had their first turban-wearing Sikh police officer. You might argue that is a demonstration of their religious persuasion, but that's the kind of thing that the Quebec law wants to outlaw, that you can't be in public employment and demonstrate indicia of your faith. As a society, come a long way, and in policing, we've come a long way with respect to knocking down those systemic barriers. Sir Robert Peel was the founder of what we call modern policing in the UK, and I think it's got to be about the 1830s, thereabouts. The basic fundamental principle of Peel's principles is that we as a society are the police and the police are us. So Peel's principles really set the foundation, and they're still as valid today as they were almost 200 years ago. For example, if you were to attend a swearing-in ceremony for new recruits as they engage in their training, and they are sworn in at that point in time, individuals who swear them in often refer to Peel's principles.
There is a common perspective that the police protect and serve, or the police are supposed to protect and serve, and I want to wake us all up to the fact that the police service as a service in the city protects private property and not the people. That is a fact. That persists. That is the whole concept of policing to a T in a nutshell.
Unreservedly in Canada, police accountability leaks like sieve. Oversight bodies have not gaps, but canyons in them.
A lot of Canadians tend to think of themselves as the type of people who don't interact with police, or the type of people who aren't involved in the justice system. And it creates this perception of there being a certain type of person that is involved in the justice system and who interacts with police, and people think of themselves as not that type of person.
There was a story where a Somali individual who barely spoke English was walking on 107, I believe, and he had a Quran with him. A police officer stopped him and questioned him. Obviously, the individual doesn't understand English, and so therefore he just kept walking away. The officer tried to grab him, and he resisted. He grabbed the Quran, he threw it on the floor, and the guy went haywire. And as soon as he went haywire, the police called for backup. They came, they arrested the individual, but as soon as one of his police officer friends came through, who was also Caucasian white, saw the Quran on the floor, he got upset. He said, "Do you not know that you're not supposed to put the Quran on the floor? That's disrespect." So he picked it up, put it on the car, and the individual changed his whole demeanor. And it's just cultural awareness and understanding. And that happens by being involved in communities and being part of communities and not from the community.
you can't get rid of problems like poverty and mental illness by just policing them away. People can't be hidden away in prison forever. People can't be charged with crimes and just be in and out of the justice system forever. And it's a matter of public interest because the way that we treat people who are experiencing homelessness or poverty or mental illness says a lot about what we value and what our standards are for how we treat each other.
As much as Laura Hawthorne's son Riley likes to play at parks like this one, it's now difficult for him. He's struggling with newfound fear and anxiety. He's afraid to be alone, to play outside, and is now terrified of sirens. Riley was at this playground in St. Albert earlier this month when he was arrested by RCMP. His grandparents' house overlooks the park, and Riley walked over to play on the swing, something he's done many times before. The RCMP say they were told there was a man impaired on drugs near the playground, that they received numerous calls from people concerned about the safety of children at the park. Riley was initially put in a holding cell, then transferred to hospital. RCMP say he harmed himself repeatedly in custody. That was before the family filed a missing persons report and police realized their suspect was a child with special needs. Riley is diagnosed nonverbal but has a limited vocabulary. His family says he functions at the maturity level of a 7-year-old.
We find that there's a lot of mental health issues that just go completely ignored. We don't know why. My client had a conviction for assaulting a police officer, and it was when we found out that through our investigation that he was actually going through a schizophrenic episode, and it just was not recognized.
The policing system should involve the police in the community, whether it's paid or not paid, in a non-uniform, dressed as a citizen, and learning how to gain power by respect, conversation, and community. That way it becomes a better dialogue.
So when trans women are arrested by officers here, they're taken to jail. The jail they're taking them, they lock them up in the main cell. Trans women are not made. That really impacts our entire existence, how we show up, our identity. Who I am is being suffocated when institution justice systems do something like that to trans individual, to trans people. If you have arrested us, take us in jail that are appropriate to who we are and our gender identity.
I think that police need to be accountable to the community that they're in. So each community is unique. And I think that the police have to be more engaging with community. Most of the police officers in our community are not from our community. They come from all over Canada. And I think that that's a hindrance to them developing real relationship with our community because they're not part of our community and they don't live in our community.
The CRCC, who oversees the RCMP, the RCMP has been the subject of a lot of investigations and reports. You know, the Bastarash Commission and report, the Mass Casualty Commission, which was very negative towards the RCMP. But nothing has changed. And yet, with these reports telling Canada, telling all of our citizens that the RCMP is rife with issues and problems, the CRCC, which is the independent body that oversees that police agency, legislatively has no teeth. They can make any decision they want, and all they can do with respect to discipline is make a recommendation to the commissioner of the RCMP.
So there can clearly be gaps because you have at least 11 different policing authorities across the country.
You have federal policing, which is done primarily by the RCMP, and they are responsible for drug investigations and those kinds of things. But the RCMP is also a contract police agency and they provide contract policing to various municipalities, and then you have municipal police forces, and they vary in size from cities like Edmonton and Calgary all the way down to communities like Camrose and Taber, who have their own municipal police forces. Primarily, municipal police forces are governed by police commissions usually, and they set the policy. They are governance boards as opposed to operational boards.
I call it the ecosystem of systems, but there's so many different things operating in either opposition or in different kind of ways. Like, the Office of the Police Complaints Commissioner handles municipal police. The Civilian Review and Complaints Commission handles RCMP. Both cases have police officers investigating themselves for misconduct. In BC, the IIO doesn't have the mandate to investigate sexual assault. And so you have sexual assault being investigated by officers under misconduct, or sexual harassment. There's so many of these processes that are just not effective in trying to achieve true oversight and accountability.
There's bound to be gaps just because there's not a uniform police act. I don't think there's a political will to have a uniform police act that would be the same across the country.
One of the difficulties, of course, is that you would be asking provinces to give up some of their jurisdiction, right? And provinces are not excited about doing that. They like to hang on to their jurisdiction. And Section 91 of the Constitution sets out the powers of the federal government. Federal government has the power to make laws with respect to criminal behavior. And that's why we have a national criminal code, right? Homicide in Prince Edward Island is the same as a homicide in the Yukon Territory. In other words, it's the same offense. And the provinces, under Section 92 of the Constitution, have jurisdiction over property and civil rights. So I think it would be hard, probably almost impossible, to have a national police act. Just because there's so many jurisdictional problems and government leaders across the country, I would be surprised if you could get them to agree to that. It's not going to happen. So the reality is that you'll have the Alberta Police Act and the BC Police Act.
There have really only been a handful of meaningful convictions against police use of force cases in this country over the last 20 years.
In Alberta, when a police officer is being investigated for misconduct by their police force and they quit in the middle of that investigation, there's no mechanism to continue investigating them for misconduct. So if they decide in the middle that they're going to resign and change careers, then the investigation into them just stops. And there's no way to make a final determination about whether they did something wrong or to seek accountability against them. They just get to move on with their lives.
While I think an argument can be made that there is benefit in the independent bodies when they find that police have not done anything wrong, that they add that level of independence and transparency so the public can have confidence in that decision. But when it comes to the prosecution, so that people realize that police will be held accountable when necessary, and as I've said already, oftentimes they don't need to be held accountable, but when necessary that they will be, it's not working.
I think one of the flaws about the Canadian legal system is that it really isn't set up to address systemic injustice. The Canadian legal system is really set up for specific people and specific situations. So if you're a person who can identify a specific thing that a police officer did wrong, you can seek accountability for that specific thing. But there aren't a lot of legal avenues to address things like systemic discrimination against Indigenous communities. There's not legal avenues to address things like police using more violence against people of color. Our legal system is really focused on individual wrongs done by individual people.
Well, it's a fact that Matt was black. And it's also a fact that force is used disproportionately in Canada, throughout Canada, against black people and Indigenous people. Those are facts. And so when something like this happens, that flag is going to be raised. Now, did that inform the shooter in terms of his actions? I don't know. I can't imagine the shooter admitting that, but he's probably going to say, oh, it's a really tall man, and he was afraid. Well, did race inform his fear? I don't know.
Training in policing does teach you that everyone is a potential threat and officer safety is the utmost. Now, we don't want police officers to be killed. I don't think anyone's goal. But at the same time, when we talk about how do we interact with community, how do we interact with people, how do we develop relationships with someone that you are considered a threat to? Officer safety is essential and important. Community-based policing and relational policing is equally important. And I think that's one of the bigger changes that need to happen in policing is we need to stop thinking that everyone's a threat, and we need to start assessing the situation. And then if we start to see or feel a threat, then we switch the way we interact. Myself and Dr. 𝘠𝘢𝘠𝑦𝑚 actually wrote a paper that provided a different response to threats. The individuals who are responsible for training of officer safety disagreed with some of the model, and they're very set on the model that they have. They believe that the model that they have is the right one. I think that needs to be looked at from an external component. I think you maybe need to hire people that are former police officers that have different backgrounds, or people that have been involved in understanding force.
There's a lot of aspects of their training that are physical in nature. There's, of course, firearms training. There's defensive driving training. There's investigative training. There's interrogation training, how to prepare for affidavits for search warrants, those kinds of things. It might be, and I'm sure, but I haven't seen it, I'm sure that there is training with respect to human rights. Everybody deserves to be treated with dignity. And treating people with dignity is, I think, a teachable skill. And I think as long as police agencies are prepared to remain teachable, I think there's an opportunity for us to improve policing.
Now, if we want policing in the city to serve the people, it's going to take massive reform of the way we envision our own roles and the roles of police in the maintenance of safety in this city.
Justice for who? Mathios. Justice for who? Mathios. Say his name. Mathios. Say his name. Mathios. Justice for who? Mathios. Justice for who? Mathios. Say his name. Mathios. Say his name. Mathios. Say his name. Mathios. Say his name. Mathios. Justice delayed.
The surprising thing for me is, like, even though it's been 8 months, some of them are still around. And every day they're trying to figure out ways to help. Every day they're trying to figure out a way to keep this story alive, because if they don't, if we just go like a week or so without bringing it up, it's just
goes quiet, and and then people just move on until next time, like another shooting happens, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, remember that time that Mathios kid too?" Right?
The death of my son made me learn a lot. Before, I thought community is just the ethnic group or where you come from. But since my son passed, I knew that the community is a city, is a place that you live, everybody, without color or background or anything. And I'm so grateful, everybody, including indigenous people. They all come with me. They're all supporting me. Even what happened to my son, I will be better than before to look after people. That's my job.
We're very thankful that there's a whole bunch of people out there that are like made it their kind of like mission to keep this going until we get justice. Yeah, not just for my brother, but like for countless other people, right? I feel like this is part of like a bigger picture, right? It's not just us, right? We're just a small piece.
We're gonna go back on the road. Justice for my son. I want to stop until the last of my blood.